In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
Welcome to the Scarlets Supporters Pembrokeshire podcast. Hello and welcome to the bonus pod for the Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire. Westerer is Besterer, and joining me as always is Big M. How are we, Martin?
I'm not in a good place with what we're about to discuss, so I think we should just
crack on with it.
Get rid of the politeness and just deal with the issue that has just been sprung upon everyone.
Okay, so we just put this into context for everyone. So we're recording this before this news is announced, okay? Because we know we won't be able to record it when the news is announced. If the news is announced. If the news isn't announced, then obviously this isn't going out. But if the news is announced, then that's why you're listening to it now, okay?
Just a load of hypotheticals from me to start.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that we're going on the information that we've had before this is announced. And when the information is announced, it might be slightly different, but that just puts it into the context of where we are. So what have you got? What do you understand is about to be announced, Matt?
My understanding is that a statement will be coming out of Llanelli RFC tonight, Tuesday 28th of March at whatever time, 7, 8 o'clock, whatever it may be, that they are intending to withdraw from the Welsh Premiership for the 23-24 season.
And that's so they'd finish this season, and I'm not sure how many games they've got left, and it's not a massive amount, but they're bottom of the table anyway. And then they would withdraw from the Premiership for next season, so there would not be a Llanelli team playing anywhere next season. Is that right? Not
in any WRU leagues. From what I'm aware of, it will essentially be a Scarlets A side playing friendlies, but being branded as Llanelli RFC.
Right. And what happens then? I mean, what I'm thinking is that the Elite League, is this tied into that Elite League setup? Is that next year? Is the Elite League next year, or is that the year after, or?
The Elite League is supposed to be for the 24-25 season at the earliest. And, I can't imagine the Scarlets wanting anyone other than Llanelli RFC being the representative in that. But, if they do go ahead and they do withdraw from the Welsh Premiership, which I can't imagine many people are going to be happy with, I can't imagine Carmarthen Quins and Llandovery being like, oh yeah, sure, we just played the next season in the Welsh Premiership. Well, you did nothing. You go take that spot in the Elite League. So it's going to be a lot of mess to wade through and fight through.
So what's your understanding of what's behind this then, Mark? What's the purpose? Because looking at this from the outside, you go, What's the point of that? Why would you withdraw your team? A team that's just done 150, just celebrated 150 years. A team that's beaten Australia, a team that's beaten New Zealand. We haven't mentioned that very often. We're renowned for that. We're renowned for the heritage of the club. Why are we removing Llanelli RFC?
From what I know, a lot of it is down to two things. Firstly, money, which is always a driver in everything. And the second is the World Cup season and the expansion of the Premiership to 14 teams. Now, as it stands, the Welsh Premiership is going to be starting 7 weeks before the URC does. So what we've seen a lot of this season is a lot of the Scarlets, wider squad, 4, 5, 6 players, whatever, in that Llanelli team. And these boys are not even going to be starting their pre-season until a week before the Welsh Premiership starts. So they're not going to be able to give any boys at the start just because they're not going to be match fit. And my understanding is, the Scarlets want their whole team to be on the same level going through. They don't want some boys in pre-season, some boys starting matches. They want everyone perfectly aligned. And you add into the fact the squads are being shrunk by 10 players or whatever. The Scarlets don't have those extra boys to give to Llanelli RFC. So once the season does start for Scarlets and the URC, they still can't give those players. So it's basically going to leave Llanelli with even more bare bones than what they are. And for anyone who knows the Welsh Prem at all, they know that Llanelli players are probably the worst paid players in the entire league. They're probably worse paid than a lot of the boys in the Championship, to be truly honest. And there's been a big drop in the WRU funding in the last few years, where it used to be somewhere around 150,000 for a Welsh Premiership side. That's now down to 50,000. And 100,000 drop in funding is absolutely massive, and that is one of the main reasons behind it. Finding that money, that loss of funding, that loss of central funding, I should say, because
and it's not like it's been replaced with anything big in terms of the Premiership crowds are not massive, and obviously in Llanelli the main focus is on the Scarlets, and so and being bottom of the table doesn't help, doesn't create a great feeling and what have you. But for the club to make the decision to withdraw and go, we're just pulling it. So I mean, how much influence does the Scarlets have over Llanelli, and how entwined are the two clubs?
Scarlets Regional Limited own 100% of Llanelli RFC. They own it outright. Llanelli do have their own board. They have their own committee that do vote on these sort of decisions. But primarily, the management of Llanelli RFC comes down to the Scarlets.
Right.
And obviously, no one other than those, within the Scarlets will know why this has happened, why this has been allowed to happen. Is it a case of, we've been so focused on the Scarlets, we just left Llanelli in the back line? Or is it a case of, we've been spending money on this club and not getting much of a return because the Welsh Prem is such a low standard in terms of getting boys ready for professional rugby, that it's been driven into the ground purposely, just so that it can be pushed to the side and then hopefully rebranded as basically a Scarlets A development in this A-League.
So, to me, this is huge. This is just, it's bizarre that the Scarlets and Llanelli would make that decision, and obviously there must be something behind it to drive it, like you just said, a gap in funding and what have you. But to pull a side that is so well known around the world, has got 150 years worth of play-in history. I don't know if that's an indication of how bad Welsh rugby is in general at the minute, whether it's an individual club thing, and I don't know what people are going to make of it. Is this, if the Scarlets, if Llanelli are in that position, I would imagine that they're not the only ones. You know, Cardiff and Cardiff RFC, Swansea RFC, Newport RFC. You know, there's got to be similar links there. We're not going to be the only ones in this boat, do we?
Yeah, well, from what I'm trying to gather off, Twitter, off speaking to some people, some sources here and there, it's not affecting the likes of Pontypridd, Ebbw Vale. It's not affecting the teams that aren't directly linked with the region.
Right.
Because obviously they are basically their own team anyway. They've got no influence. So, we could be seeing similar issues with Cardiff, Newport, Swansea, like you said. But at the same time, there's going to be, your Quins, your Llandovery, Bridgend, Pontypridd. You could even chuck in Pontypool, Ebbw Vale, all of them who they want these, larger seasons. They want the extra home games where, Llanelli, Cardiff, they want smaller, more intense league seasons to keep costs down and to try and raise standards a bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if any other teams came out and said, we're in a similar position. Mm-hmm. But at this time, there is no information to really say anybody else will.
Yeah, and like I say, we're working on information that is, it's not out in the public domain at the minute. But I would anticipate that this is going to be massive. And where they go from here, where the Premiership goes from here, where Llanelli and where the Scarlets go from here, who knows? Who knows, mate?
Well, all I'm going to say is that outside of the Scarlets board, the Llanelli RFC committee, the people that do know about this, they're not happy about it. And they're going to be fighting like hell to stop it from happening, just to try and find, whatever they need to keep this club alive, whether it's just the money or whether it's getting, some extra people involved or whatever it is, because no one's going to want to see any club fold, especially not one like Llanelli RFC. Like you said, with the 150 years, with the New Zealand, with the Australia, there's too much history to let this club fold, even if it's just for a season.
Yeah. So, Mark, we're gonna hold it there. We'll see what comes. We'll put this out if it's relevant, and we'll follow things from there on in. And It's turbulent times ahead. We thought the turbulence was behind us. We thought after the vote on Sunday that was it. We could sail on, but choppy waters ahead, and we'll see what comes from there, mate. And we'll see where we are, I guess.
Well, fingers crossed enough information comes out tonight that I haven't overstepped the mark with all I've said. So
yeah. Well, like I say, fingers crossed. We'll update people as we know, as and when we know. We'll see how it goes, and we'll go from there. So we're done once again, mate.
a nice quick bonus pod on possibly the saddest news anyone this side of the Locker Bridge could hear.
Yeah, it's going to take a while to sink in. It takes. It's going to take a while. When we were talking about it before, it's still a little bit, really,
raw.
Are we on April 1st yet? It's, so yeah, this is going to take a while, and it's going to have repercussions. We know it is. It's going to have repercussions. So anyway, you hit it here first-ish. Mark, I will catch up with you again next week, mate. We will talk some more rugby, and we'll follow up on this story next week, and we'll go from there, mate. All right.
See you then, mate.
Have a good week, mate. All the best.
Thank you.
Cheers, Mark. You have been listening to the Westerer is Besterer podcast from the Scarlet Supporters PEMS team. You can follow us on Twitter on Scarlet PEMS, find us on Facebook with Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire, or email us on scarletspems@gmail.com. And remember, West is best, but Westerer is Besterer. Cheers.
Sports Social Podcast Network.